Alright, hello everybody who is watching this video. This is Andrew from the EW YouTube team, and today we're going to be talking about potential for severe weather over the next few days. I am currently moving around my screen on my video recorder as it is a little weird, so that we can have it better fit into GR2 Analyst here. We're going to take a look at kind of our current radar right now. It is currently around 12:35 when I'm recording this video, Central Daylight Time, on July 8th, 2022. Here is a look at our current radar. We have a severe risk today with a mesoscale convective vortex here out in Kentucky. We can see we have some mini supercells starting to develop up by Elizabethtown, Kentucky. This one's starting to get organized. We can see in the upper levels it's got a little bit of a rotating mesocyclone. We can also see there's other storms starting to organize further south. If I change the radar screen to... If I change it to the Jackson radar, we can see there's a line of storms developing as well. This is going to pose a threat for damaging wind gusts throughout the afternoon, and maybe a brief spin-up tornado as well. Now, looking into the Storm Prediction Center page, here it is. The Storm Prediction Center page has a potential for a severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch to be out in a little bit. Probably severe thunderstorm here across portions of southwest West Virginia, northern Tennessee, and eastern southeastern Kentucky. They are monitoring the potential for damaging wind gusts across this area through 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Here's a look at the severe risks today. We have a marginal risk in Maine. We also have a marginal risk stretching from portions of Virginia and Florida all the way through the Midwest and all the way up into the Northern Plains. Embedded within it, we have a slight risk there. Northern Tennessee, most of Kentucky, southeast Illinois, and then southeast Missouri. There's a 2% tornado chance with that one, and there's also a 2% tornado chance with the slight for North Dakota, northwest South Dakota, and most of Montana. There's a 15% significant wind region up there for Montana, 15 non-wind region for the Ohio Valley, and a 15 sig hail. Across, isolated very large hail and significant outflow gusts are going to be possible in Montana today, and occasional damaging wind gusts along with a brief tornado are going to be possible in the Ohio Valley. If you want to read these discussions, here you go. Currently, here's a look at mesoscale analysis. This is a tool we use for forecasting. We can see higher 3 Cape values are starting to appear, or lower level instability across the risk area. This will enhance the chance for a tornado or two across the Ohio Valley. Looking at your instability values, they are moderate. Your wind shear values within 6 kilometers are not very strong, but at the effective layer they're okay. Then your wind shear in the lower levels is not very strong either, and that translates to the hodograph, which is a measure of the wind shear. They are rather small, so it's going to be a bit hard to get a tornado today. Going up into Montana, this severe threat will not kick off until a little later, but we are already starting to see instability. This instability will uncap right around, let's see here, 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and then right around 4 p.m. or so, 3 to 4 Central, we're going to start to see supercells pop up, and that's when we're going to see a large hail threat start. There's already pretty strong wind shear that's going to race into the region, moving northeastward, 40 to 50 knots. That's going to enhance the severe threat as well. Here's a look at another forecaster tool called HRIF that we use. Now we're going to go into the northwest and look at the region for today. So models have printed intense UH swaths, which is basically intense updrafts from Oregon all the way into portions of North Dakota. This is where isolated scattered severe weather is possible. They have a 70 ring, which I'm pretty sure is the maximum ring you can get, which means intense severe storms are possible in that area. Now here is the 500 millibar wind shear, and then the surface capping and everything overlaid. So we're expecting everything to start on capping around right around now, and then we're expecting to see intense updrafts form later. And then some intense updrafts are possible across Oregon. Let me remove this in. So we can see here, probably our peak severe weather time today is going to be from 23, 22Z all the way through probably 2, 3Z. And then tomorrow, we're expecting more supercells to develop across Montana. These will move eastward, get really intense there in central Montana as they hit the higher instability area. Right there, and as they move eastward, we're expecting potential for an intense MCS to evolve out of this. We'll have to watch for an upgrade to enhanced and significant corridors to be added. Again, we can see here in the Northern Plains region, we have moderate instability that builds over the area throughout tomorrow. If we go to the 1 kilometer, if we go to the tracks for supercells, there's a lot of disagreement. We could have a few open warm sector supercells that develop across Minnesota, Canada, and into North Dakota. These would provide a threat for tornadoes. If that would happen, we probably would get a 5% upgrade, but this is rather uncertain. The certain part, though, is that we're going to get intense storms with the mesoscale convective system overnight, or in the elevated supercells. Here's a look at 500 millibars. This is another thing we really use for forecasting. Today, it's going to get pretty strong over Montana, where those storms are going to eject from, and we should probably look at the CONUS view. So 500 millibar, there's really not going to be much wind shear for the Ohio Valley, so that's why I'm thinking the tornado risk here is going to be rather low, and the tornado risk really everywhere today is not going to be very high. The strongest shear is going to be over Montana, where we're expecting more intense severe storms, and then tomorrow that same area of energy will move eastward into portions of Minnesota, maybe enhance the risk for a storm or two there, and then the main system is going to be right here. That's going to push on eastward there. And as we get into Sunday, there's also going to be a severe threat. Looking at the Storm Prediction Center's page, we have their new outlook. They have not released a 1730Z outlook. I'll show it to you guys if they have it by the end of the video. It's a 2% tornado risk region across western Minnesota and eastern North Dakota. 15 non-wind and then 15 non-hail. There is a 5 wind in the southeast as well, as severe weather potential will exist there. Now let's go on to the model data. We're going to first look at the RAP. This is one of the models that I use. It's more of a short-range model. So let's stop it at 0Z today. This is when severe weather is going to start to form across Montana with this kind of belt of energy, and then some other areas of severe weather will be possible across the high plains, stretching all the way to here. So looking at the overall ingredients, here's our mixed layer cape, and it's going to be right around 1,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. You can see the greens are located here, are 2,000, and then those yellow splotches are 3,000. Now, this looks like it may uncap a little bit earlier in the day, and then kind of recap over. But we're going to see here, looking at the 0 to 3 kilometer instability, there's a lot down in the southeast. There's a little bit up in Montana. This is where our other 2% tornado risk region exists over there. So we'll take a sounding while we wait on that. 850 millibar wind energy is not going to be very high really anywhere today. Here's the sounding within that 2% region. If you get like a boundary or something with the storm rise, maybe it can produce a brief tornado, but nothing significant is likely tornadic-wise today. Here's the upper level wind shear. It's rather strong. This will support potential for hail, wind, and really everything. If we move into the northwest sector here, we can see what the RAP does precipitation-wise, and we can see it kind of evolves a couple clusters of storms here around 0Z Zulu time, or 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain time. If we take a sounding there, we can see that this sounding would favor rather intense downdrafts because of the drier air at the surface, and it would also favor rather large hail because of the drier air at the surface too, making hailstorms more possible. We're going to look at the hodograph here, which is basically, again, the measure of the wind shear, and it's rather straight within the upper levels, really right here, upper to lower levels, not really much turning, and unless you're within the first kilometer located, like right here, there's some turning, which could provide threat for some rotating storms, but there's not really going to be rotating storms because there's not enough of that turning as your storm relative velocity is rather low. Again, going into it, this will favor a significant wind and significant hail threat. As we move a little bit eastward, we're expecting these storms to grow upscale into a cluster, or maybe a mesoscale convective system, or MCS. And looking at soundings here, again, favorable for damaging wind gusts and outflow, or significant damaging winds, and very large hail. As we move into the region for the next day here, we're expecting some development of supercells across North Dakota here, and also Montana. If we look at Montana here, first, and then we can take a sounding. The next sounding we're going to take is going to be in North Dakota, probably right here, and kind of central North Dakota. Here's the Montana sounding. This is going to favor, so here we go. Let's take an in-depth view of this sounding. This, again, is the hodograph. It is, again, rather long and rather straight. It's a lot more straight at the surface this time, too. This right here is going to favor more large hail, significant large hail threat. Also, looking at your lapse rates, they are very steep, which you can see within the thermodynamic profile right here. As this red line is the instability, or is the temperature line, and the temperature line just keeps on going up. Doesn't really take many turns, except right here. There's a little bit of an inversion. We can also see there is a lot of downdraft cape because of the drier surface air. That's going to create potential for significant outflow winds. Deep layer shear being 51 knots will help out the potential for organization into an MCS, and significant longer-lived supercells favorable for large to very large hail production. Here's the sounding over North Dakota. There is a little bit of a EML here, which could prevent tornado potential, but this sounding is going to be more suited for tornado potential. The air at the surface is rather dry, so this could make it so we get outflow dominant storms because of that classic inverted V profile. But if we do not get outflow dominant storms, some tornadic potential will be possible because this photograph is pretty big within the low levels, and it turns a lot. Now, once you get to the upper and mid levels, it's not turning as much as located within this like blue area that I'll write with my pen here. That is a more straight hodograph, which is more favorable for wind and hail potential. Looking into the thermodynamics here, they are very large, along with a huge hail growth layer right here. Lots of instability there, which will help the hail threat. So overall, I think they're going to add a significant risk for wind gusts and hail over the next few outlooks here. Maybe the outlook coming out soon. You can see this. The wrap really organizes this into an MCS along with all the other models that do that. And kind of moves in. You can see this is going to be favorable again for wind and hail potential. Very dry air at the surface. Will prevent really tornadoes from happening unless you get storms to fire out in the open warm sector. And then the next day could be rather interesting. We get an MCS to form with surging moderate amounts of instability ahead of it, which will create a potential for significant gusts and maybe some hail and maybe a tornado threat if that surface inversion gets removed. We can already see, looking at some reflectivity, that MCS is already forming, and the environment in front of this will very much support significant wind gusts if everything was right because of the rather unidirectional profiles, the strong deep layer shear noted within the hodograph right here, the moderate amounts of instability building getting too extreme because that's going to, once that EML rose, you're going to get a lot more instability, and the decently steep lapse rates, unless you're right here, those are not very steep. But this is all supportive for a wind threat, pretty good wind threat too, and not really as much of a hail threat because we don't really have the best lapse rates ever, but yeah. Here's another synoptic view of the NAM. Here it is for Sunday, and then here it is for Monday. Monday is probably going to be a decent severe weather threat across portions of Illinois, maybe Michigan, definitely Iowa and Missouri as well. Just looking at the mixed layer cape here, we can already see we have a lot of mixed layer cape that's going to be building across the region, along with strong amounts of 500 millibar flow. This is probably going to be an MCS setup. We have strong vorticity building along the cold front, along with a lot of instability values as well. Your low level shear will be rather weak, but if we do take a sounding here, it will probably show some isolated tornado potential, and not really. That is a trash sounding for tornadoes. If you want to know why this sounding is very bad for tornadoes, it looks like a redshift J-shaped, which means you have a lot of 0 to 1 kilometer shear, and then like basically no shear above that. So that is really not very good for tornado potential at all. Now, as we get a little bit later into the day here, we see the low-level flow starts to get better, and we look at the ball shear, and it's pretty strong across portions of the Midwest here. Surface-based instability is going to be 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram, perhaps a little bit higher. Mixed layer cape is going to be around 3,000, 2,000. Here's a sounding near Peoria, Illinois. We can see the hodograph is not going to be favorable for tornado potential, but the unidirectional with it, this is going to be favorable for damaging wind potential and hail potential. As you can see here, steep lapse rates will also cause this. Indy player shear being 31 knots is not terrible. Here's a better sounding for wind and hail potential right here. We still have decently drier at the surface, not the best, so you're probably going to get more 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts, but you're probably going to have pretty good hail. As you can see, your middle level and upper level wind shear values in here are pretty strong. As you can see, the barbs. Red is going to be your highest wind shear, which is located between 9 and 12 kilometers, and then orange is the second highest, which is located between 3 and like 4 to 5 all the way to 7 or so, and then we have it around 13, 14 kilometers as well. Now, let's see if this day 2 is updated yet. No. We're going to go look at the HRRR now. We're going to kind of look how it evolves this convection from today. And this is a rather outdated run, but it shows a few supercells evolving into a cluster tonight. The same area gets rocked again tomorrow with more supercells forming. Let's see here. Very favorable environment, very streamized hodographs. This is going to be a structure show. If you are a storm chaser in the Northern Plains tomorrow watching this, make your trip out to Montana. You won't regret it for Saturday. Very large hodograph, very streamwise hodograph, very good for structure. Pretty much a structure show. We have really good you have inversion at the surface, which will also support it. You can also see instability values are decent, so hail and wind are going to be likely as well. As you move off eastward, more supercells start to fire. Now, as we get into the Northern Plains here and let that load, today a mesoscale convective system moves in. Stuff tries to get going behind it, but nothing does. You can see some pretty intense supercells get going across North Dakota there. Looking into soundings, the environment will be favorable for literally just wind and hail. No tornado threat because of that surface inversion. And we can see here, around 12Z, we see a pretty good MCS start to build. Looking at the other camps, pretty similar story. Storms evolving into a mesoscale convective system tomorrow. Some of them providing potential for maybe an isolated supercell there, and then a pretty nasty MCS forms. Here's the NSSL solution. Again, pretty similar stuff. A few more supercells form on the NSSL, though, and track southward until a pretty nasty mesoscale convective system kind of evolves from Montana. You can see that there. Here's the Euro look for day 4. We can again see severe weather potential will exist again, probably from Wisconsin, Iowa, through kind of just general quarter. I'm expecting a marginal, probably even a slight risk to be issued there. Again, looking at soundings, very supportive for wind and hail. Isolated severe weather potential will probably exist also on that next day, which is Tuesday, across portions of the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast. This is going to be mainly a damaging wind event. Taking a look at soundings there in central New York. As we wait for this to load. Take a second there. The wind profiles, again, are very unidirectional. As you can see with the wind barbs, really not much change. Weak thermodynamics will also keep this severe threat kind of weak, but you do have some drier air at the surface, which will support potential for damaging wind gusts, along with steep lapse rates and deep layer shear being around 40 knots or so. So that will support potential for damaging wind gusts, which is going to be the main threat. Okay, I think everything got covered here. If you enjoyed this weather briefing, please like and subscribe, and we are going to try to revive this channel again. See y'all in the next one.